You charge you for the experience, exactly. The original agro-tourism.
That is genius.
Yeah. So the main section of the garden we were growing, and I was just learning, figuring out, trying a bunch of stuff. And then the other section we were using as a community garden. So I had like some nice beds laid out. And what I learned is that people were interested in gardening, but didn't really have the commitment. Like usually what happens is people get...
Because this is all great stuff.
I mean, you just cut the camera on, we can let it flow. Y'all can splice it back in.
It's flowing.
Introduce, and then I just cut it on. And,
all right, cool.
Okay. Move all this stuff?
No, that's fine. Y'all
actually kind of chilling. I kind of like it.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
You can look at
No, I cut my joint off.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, but you want the...
No.
No.
I mean, because the show
Natural.
The show's called Just Talking.
Just talking.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
And it just started flowing. This is the best version of it that has happened.
All right. And,
yeah.
The cameras and mics on?
Yeah.
All right.
Everything's on. Everything's live.
Right. Yeah. So we can put the introductions in later.
Yeah. So you want me to just go ahead and introduce it, or we want to do it later? All right. Let's just keep talking.
All right. Okay.
All right. Cool. So you were telling me a little bit about the process of getting an adopt-a lot, and then after the adopt-a lot,
right?
The timeline you
yeah. So the timeline gets to be a little nebulous, but yeah. So I essentially started doing it. So we were growing in our backyard. We had pots lined up the driveway, and then we were growing across the street. And I was just experimenting, trying different stuff out, and it's really developing a green thumb. Doing a lot of reading, and then really trying to figure out, like, is this, this is something I really want to do. I'm passionate about it. I feel good about it. It makes me feel good. It reminds me of home.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Oklahoma. But then how do I continue to do it? So then the neighborhood association came back and was like, we need to do an adopt-a-lot, which is essentially a year-long right-of-use agreement between a resident and the city of Baltimore, usually the housing department. It really depends on who owns it, but through housing, to use that piece of property for a year. And you technically are supposed to renew it every year. Obviously, the city is tough. They lose track or whatever. But it's a benefit to the city because somebody's managing the land, is getting mowed, and people use them for all types of projects, pocket parks, little communities, just gathering spaces.
How difficult was it going through the application process?
It's mad easy. And this is now, we're talking like 2007.
Okay.
So
is it easier now, would you say?
No, I think it's probably a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
Maybe, the process of getting an adopt-a-lot is fairly easy. You essentially find a piece of land, and then you go to housing and you find out who owns it. If it's owned by the city and there's no immediate plans for it to be developed, then they'll let you use it for a year. No problem. It's no big deal. If there are plans to use it immediately by a developer, then they won't give you the ability to use it. The difficult part is if it's owned, and there's a lot of land that's owned in Baltimore City by an absentee owner. So it's owned by somebody who doesn't live here.
Lives in the county.
Lives in New Jersey, wherever. They just own this little piece of property, and there's tons of land in the city like that.
That makes a lot of sense.
And that's one of the things that people don't fully understand about the vacants in Baltimore City. They're like, oh, why doesn't the city just do this? Well, they can't because it's owned. It's been owned by some family since 1950s. Those folks been paying the taxes on it, and it's just a lot. It's it's just like one little parcel of land that's like could be only like 15 feet wide, by 130 feet.
And there's no amount of years to say after X amount of years.
Now, if you own it and you paying the taxes on it.
Oh, they're paying the taxes. That's
the city don't care as long as you're paying the taxes on it. Yeah. But now, if you're not paying the taxes, that's different. That's how it ended up in the tax sale. But that doesn't happen immediately either. Yeah. So on that original site at the corner of Kenyon Avenue. So our house was on Kenyon. So it was Kenyon and Brims Lane.
Okay.
So right there on the corner of Kenyon and Brims Lane, there were 6 lots. 4 of them were owned by the city. 2 of them were owned by absentee owners. And so the way it works is if you write a letter to the owner, and the owner has so many days to respond, I think it's like 14 days or whatever to respond, in whatever way they respond, then they decide whether or not you can get the adopted lot or not. But if they don't respond, then you essentially have permission to use the land. So we didn't get a response.
Yeah.
And then so we just continued on doing what we were doing. And so I essentially learned or relearned how to grow food during that time. At the time, we only had, so when we moved to Baltimore, we had 3 kids, 3 children. Then we had our 4th and 5th in that house. And so when I started farming, the original name of the farm was Four Seeds Farm. It was an urban farm. This is now, and so now this is 2000. Hold on, when was that boy born? I don't even remember. Okay, so he might have been born. What year is this? This is 2019.
Yeah.
Osceola is 11. So he was born in 2008.
Yeah.
He's born so 2008 we rolled out Four Seeds Farm. Because I had done a lot of reading, just doing a lot of research. I mean, it was really time for me of growth and development. And so I was just like doing a lot of reading and like learning about this whole urban agriculture thing.
So how was it getting your wife on board?
So it was really interesting. So my wife is not a country girl.
Okay.
And she did not marry a farmer. She married a school teacher. She married a librarian. She didn't marry a farmer. And so that transition was very interesting for us because essentially, our life, in a lot of ways, our lifestyle changed. So she was raised in D.C. Her mom, interestingly enough, was from Langston.
Oh.
But had moved to so they had spent a little bit of time in Oklahoma, which is where we met in Oklahoma.
Gotcha.
But the transition was interesting, to say the least. But that was primarily my thing. I mean, she eat, she partake, she knows how to do a lot of that stuff, but it was really my thing. So I would take the kids out, take the babies out. There are pictures now, which I need to find, of like the baby like 3 months old, like on my back in a backpack carrier, and I'm picking tomatoes or whatever.
Yeah, you got to put those pictures out there, man.
I do. I gotta find them. So so she was with it, but she was essentially raising babies. So it was dope. The kids were able to just like dip back and forth and really get this experience, which essentially that's what I wanted. In 2006, 2007, when I'm looking at this site, it's like I wasn't planning on being a farmer. Yeah. I just wanted my kids to learn how to homestead, how to produce their own food, how to save their own food. Where does food come from? I just wanted them to have a similar experience to what I had.
Because, and not to cut you off, but because the reason why I'm even interested in it is because of things that I've learned about where food comes from, documentaries I've watched, things within my own health that I found out through different tests that I've taken by what I'm eating, what I'm partaking in. And then I'm like now also I'm at the whim of other people.
Absolutely.
To provide for me food, water, all this other stuff.
Exactly.
And so subsequently, my mom's side of the family, who I grew up with, are from South America. And so a lot of them grew up growing their own food or what have you. Right. So my aunt, when I was younger, she took a abandoned backyard, a backyard of a house that I don't even know if we owned the house. We just kind of was there. It was kind of like, so I guess in the city, sometimes if you're there long enough, you just kind of live there. Right. So like we just kind of lived there, like. We didn't really pay for cable or water. Things just kind of just happened. For real? Yeah, man. It was. I don't know if it was a different time or, but yeah, over in West Baltimore. And but anyway, she decided to take that lot, which was abandoned, rocky, horrible cement lot, and did whatever she did, and has been working that farm for the last at least 10 years.
For real?
Yeah, for real. My Aunt Elizabeth. Chance Bob, and and she's now like a master gardener. She does like informational sessions down at the farmers market on 83 or what have you, with I guess the master gardener association people with them.
Right. So like set up the table.
Yeah, the little
provide-
table with the
okay,
information.
okay.
Yeah. But she is how I got even wind of that. Like she would take me, she'd be like, "Come here, blah 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 blah," and show me like apple mint or whatever. She'd be growing like peppers and stuff.
Right.
So my aunt, so now my other aunt has pots like. If I can find a picture, I'll find it at some point.
Huge pots with
Huge pots all over the backyard on one lot, and then across the alley, the other is just a farm with just all different stuff growing.
Right.
And so every time I go there and visit my aunts and stuff like that, I look, I'm like, this is dope. Like, my aunt will make me food literally with stuff that she just goes to the back and grabs. And like all in the house, she got pots all in the house of different.
It's the best feeling,
and I'm just looking like
it's the best feeling.
And so now then my girlfriend, she grew up in the South, so I went to school in Kentucky. So
where'd you go to school?
Berea College in Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah, small liberal arts college, about what is that, like 40 minutes south, 30 minutes south of Lexington.
Okay.
But yeah, so a lot of people, that's when I also got insight into agriculture, because I'm in Baltimore City. Like you said, like a lot double the size of this room is crazy to me. Because we didn't have no grass. Like we just had cement. We had an alley. We had like one tree, I think, on the whole block before they did like a tree planting project, and then there's a bunch of trees that came after that. So there was no connection between me and
nature.
outside and nature.
Right.
Until I went on like field trips and stuff at my school. I went to a private school, so then I would go outdoors. My school was up in the woods. So I had a professor similar to you, my biology teacher, who pretty much got me obsessed with biology to the point where I was seriously considering being a zoologist, like going to college. Like he completely
good teacher.
Steered my whole life.
That's a sign of a good teacher.
Yeah, and like he did a beekeeping class, so I would go in there.
I worked with that cat. What's his name?
Jeff Jennings.
Jeff Jennings. Yep.
You know Jeff?
I helped set up those hives. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. So he's
Park.
Yeah, Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he Jeff changed my whole, like I was getting into a lot of trouble, or whatever. And he was just one of those teachers that just me and him naturally vibed.
That's what's up.
Because
when you graduate?
2010. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Those hives up in there.
Yep.
Oh, that's small world. That's crazy. Yeah. So he was the one who, like, I went on this trip. We went to Chesapeake Bay Foundation in Southern Maryland, and we stayed there at the Karen Noonan Center, and we stayed there for 3 or 4 days. And he took us on these different excursions and taught us about the wildlife and all this stuff that I don't know nothing about. Like, I watched documentaries when I was a kid, but I didn't know it was this close to Baltimore. Like, a couple hours away, I didn't know that there was like marshland and like ecosystems and like sinking islands and different, all that crazy stuff. And so that got
stuck in the city.
Yeah, because like, how would I even got there, like, without a school, without some sort of like transportation provided by a group of people, like a school or something like that. So I like to say, like, it seems like, you were mentioning earlier, a lot of people don't know how to start. A lot of people don't know even that it even exists.
Yeah, that's even possible.
Even possible. You hear different stuff of, I remember I heard one time somebody said it's illegal to collect rainwater or something like that. Like, you don't got to comment. But like, my aunt was, so I hear different stuff about, I get an idea, like, okay, maybe I should do this, or how can I do this, or whatever. Yeah. Because I have a plot in front of my, like, where I'm at now.
No, bro, just do it. So I'll tell you.
There you go.
It's funny.
Okay.
Joe, just do it.
Yeah.
So one of the most. I'll spare you the boring story, but okay, all right. So when I started to say I want to farm, like I want to grow produce for profit, right? There was a dude that was like, I got something for you. He's like, check your mailbox. So he bought me 2 books. One of those books was a book called You Can Farm by Joel Salatin. Joel Salatin is a longtime sustainable agriculture advocate. He's a farmer, teacher, educator. He's brilliant. You know, he's like considered like the godfather of organic farming. And so he's written a series of books. He's also done a series of talks. In one of the stories he talks about essentially that everything he wanted to do is illegal, right? I just want to grow vegetables, but there's like all these regulations, you know, there's all these rules and all these parameters. He like, man, bump that. I'm gonna just do it. Hey, if it's a problem, then we'll work it out later. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And so in that book, he tells several stories where, just like you, somebody looked at a piece of property, looked at a piece of land, or saw an egg, and was like, "Why can't I turn this into a business? Why can't I turn this into an entrepreneur enterprise?" And he's like, "You can do it. Just do it. Go do it." So that inspired me to go from having 0 chickens in Baltimore City before it was legal to 4 chickens. To 20 chickens, and we selling the eggs out the back door. You know, and now, fast forward 5 years later, you can have as many chickens as the square footage in your lot allows.
So
do it.
To the left, why do you think those things are illegal?
Man, there's a whole ton of reasons, but the number one reason is capitalism. So someone else wants to control your food, wants to control what kind of clothes you wear, what kind of shoes you buy, wants to control your life. They have created a business on that desire or that need. And so they charging you for it. You got to eat. So I'm going to monopolize this market because I know everybody got to come to me.
And that's the thing that people don't realize is that you've been around longer than I have, but just within my lifespan, I've seen so many trends come and go.
Right.
And the thing about capitalism, like I'll have conversations with my more progressive or more liberal friends, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that." And I'm like, look, they're going to figure out how to make a buck off of whatever positive thing you feel as though you're doing, unless you're doing it as an individual.
Right.
Once it goes into the marketplace,
it's a wrap.
you don't know what's going on.
It's like, you think about it, it's like kale is now considered a superfood. Like, this is popular. You are old enough to remember when kale was decoration was the garnish on the salad bar.
We used to go to, was it Pizza Hut?
Yes.
And they used to have
salad
kale
bar
on. It wasn't
around the salad. Around the salad.
You eat it.
You're not supposed to eat that.
Yeah, you wasn't supposed to eat it.
This supposed to be pretty. But now this is superfood. Everybody's supposed to be excited about kale. It's the same kale.
It's really funny.
It is. It's super funny. So now we got kale chips. You're putting kale in your smoothies. You got dehydrated kale flakes to put on your popcorn. Got kale cookies. It's ridiculous, B. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, which is why you shouldn't listen. And it's, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but I do have to say to people most of the time that you should not trust any large organization, because anything that they give you, they're giving it to you only for you to give it back to them.
Give them the money back. Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm gonna loan you this.
Yeah.
And hey, I want this money back. Hey, here's some kale. Here's this useless thing.
Right.
Or whatever that we have an abundance of. Because I was watching a documentary about like high fructose corn syrup or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I'm figuring
that was because of an excess in the market. We're growing all this corn. We can't use all this shit. So what we're gonna do with it? We're gonna turn it into sugar. Put that sugar in everything. Because it's sugar because this is a very cheap form of sugar, way more expensive than the other sugar, and put it in everything. And now there's this massive market. There's this over excess of production, but not realizing how devastating this monocropping and having all of this land controlled by a very, very small group of people, how detrimental that is to our ecosystem. And so now we're in this very ridiculous. We're in this super ridiculous situation where somebody who's growing on an acre and a half is supposed to be a superstar, but in reality, the villain are these cats that are growing all this corn that's not even for human consumption. Most of it goes to chickens or cows, and then gets ground up into.
When I eat corn, a very specific thing happens.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So ridiculous. It's convoluted. There's just like so many caveats. It's like it's capitalism, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's in this to try to make money, and I can't front. I got into this to make money too. I was selling eggs. I was selling honey. But I was trying to create a business to create some level of independence and freedom for my family.
Yeah, and there is a stark difference between what you're doing and what those other companies, farms, et cetera, are doing. Because the difference is I can walk to your farm.
Right.
I can walk to wherever.
Right.
If I'm living in Baltimore, and this is the issue not with just food, but not to get too much off topic, but with a lot of things is the disconnect between the source of whatever it is I'm purchasing and my dollar. Like I was having a conversation with someone about high fashion bags, and I was telling them that most of those bags come from the same factories in Guangzhou, these different provinces in China.
Right.
But one gets I think the handles or whatever gets assembled in Italy.
Right.
So then they don't have to say it was made in China. They can say made in Italy.
Right.
And then you mad because you're getting a fake or whatever because it don't say that. It says something else or whatever.
Right.
But it's all about.
But it's just.
It's all politics. It's all about capitalism. It's all about getting you to want to buy into this thing of, hey, I'm gonna pay crazy amounts of money for this thing where I can get a local version of this thing. It might be. I remember when my dad first started going to Whole Foods. I don't even think it was called Whole Foods back then.
It was
called
Fresh
Fields.
Fields.
And I was super young. I had really bad eczema and asthma when I was a kid. And I remember like my parents were trying to figure out like what was going on. Like I was like horrible.
Yeah, my it's funny. It's interesting you say that. We had one too, which was part of the catalyst for us making these changes.
See, and like to the point I was like alligator skin.
Yeah.
So, there you go. There you go. Like crazy. And I won't tell these stories, get my parents in trouble. Yeah. But they used to have to try a lot of things to get me to stop itching.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was crazy.
Socks on the hand.
There you go.
Beeswax.
Everything.
I know.
Okay. All right. So at one point, my parents decided to put me on a fruit diet.
Right. On
like an all natural fruits and vegetable diet.
Right.
And I think within like a couple weeks, eczema completely cleared up.
Word.
Yeah. Completely cleared up to this day. The ladies touch my skin. And say how smooth, how smooth my skin is. And it's crazy. I'll see videos of how I was when I was younger. And it's like, I remember how stressful and painful it was to constantly be itching.
Yeah.
That feeling. And the fact that for me, at least, I don't know about a lot of people, but for me, there was a direct relationship between my food that I was eating.
Absolutely.
And what my body was reacting to.
Right.
And the older I get, and the more I'm learning a little bit, because like my roommate, he's studying to get into medical school, so I'm kind of talking to him about a little bit of stuff in terms of inflammation and these different things and how a lot of what your body is reacting to is what you're eating.
Yeah.
And it's probably what you thought for years. And a lot of people who were into the natural food movement thought for years, but now mainstream science is now getting
onto it
and being like, this is true.
This probably is helpful if you ate a little less meat and you ate a little less fat and you drank more water. You're like, oh, for real? Really? Oh, y'all just figured this out? Yeah. For years it's been, I had a son, the same thing, man. He had severe eczema.
Yeah.
Like he was in the hospital for 2 months as a 3-month-old.
Yep.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
And so I can totally understand that. And it's cliche to say, but like your food is your medicine. People say that and it doesn't really mean anything, but it's like it's really important. And so for us, I kind of backed into this as a vegetarian.
Okay.
I had made that decision when our children were young, maybe even a little bit before my wife got pregnant, and because I thought that was the answer. just stop eating meat.
Yeah.
And then when I started to read
Mm-hmm.
and research, and then really what did it is meeting other farmers and seeing one farmer's practice versus another farmer's practice, and then being able to line it up with what I was reading and then getting to see it in real time. Like these cows are healthy. This is the reason why they're healthy, because these cows are eating grass. They're outside. They're on grass. They're able to be cows.
They're in their natural habitat.
They're in their natural habitat. And so even if you're saying like, I'm going to take the milk from this cow and drink it, I'm going to take the milk from this cow and turn it into butter or buttermilk, or I'm going to take this cow and eat the cow, this cow and the products that are coming from this cow are way healthier and better for your body than they are for this cow that's in a cage, standing on concrete, in 2 feet of its own shit,
For real.
eating corn. Cows ain't supposed to eat corn. There's a reason why cows have 3 stomachs, and it ain't for them to eat corn. It's because they should be eating grass and hay. So I go to different farms and I see that and I'm like, damn, your cows look sick. They're like, yeah, we need to give them steroid, antibiotic shots, this, that, and the third. Go to another farm and they're like, oh yeah, we don't do nothing. They just go from here to here. They just be cows. You know, they come in, we milk them. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
You go to another farm and they chickens is out here running around. You know, you eating bugs, scratching up the dirt, chilling.
Yeah.
Personable chickens. They got their beaks.
Yeah.
You get these eggs. You get these huge egg yolks that are the color of the sun, that taste clean and magnificent. You go to another farm, their chickens are in these cages stacked up. They're eating grain, no sunlight, or they're inside, or even worse, they're inside these big chicken hangers, standing in their own feces.
See,
and you get those eggs, and they're flat. The yolks are pale yellow.
And 2 things, and then I got a question.
Right.
So first thing is, it was like once my family got wind of that, we used to have to drive 40 minutes to Pennsylvania.
Of course.
To these people that used to sell us stuff out their trunk.
Because Whole Foods hadn't got on it yet. But anyway, go ahead.
In the parking lot. We used to meet these Amish people
I know,
in the parking lot.
My wife's mother used to do the same thing.
But they had a little cooler.
Right.
Boom.
Bong,
get the
right.
milk. Get the
Get
kefir.
your milk, right.
I was on kefir when I was younger.
Right.
And now they sell kefir, mango kefir, strawberry kefir,
Yo,
whatever.
talk to them.
It's interesting.
It was like illicit. Like you had this special knock in the yoga studio, get your milk. I was like, this is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, so anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So to what you was talking about, now we get into what Jeff got me interested in. Through that, I learned more about food sourcing, et cetera, and
right.
And then I realized that I grew up and lived in a food desert. And I decided to do a whole project on food deserts. I did a bunch of research on I walked from my house to the closest grocery store. I wrote down what was in the grocery store. So I grew up on Franklin and Payson, right by the West Side Mark train station.
Yep.
And so the closest grocery store at that point. So when I was growing up, the closest grocery store was Super Pride. And Super Pride was basically a big corner store. They used to have spoiled chicken. They used to bleach the chicken to keep for real, flies. But that was maybe a 10 minute walk, 10 to 15 minute walk. And then you think about you got groceries to bring back. So it's a lot. So you go in there because you have to. You got to, right? And then they had used to be a stop shop and save, another 15, 20 minutes that way. Walking. Okay. And then they had a food city. Now I think it's Food City or something. That was the worst. That was a bigger version of Super Pride. And I remember when I was going there when I was younger, I felt like we was rats because the way they set up the aisles was you come in and they would pretty much guide you to where through the aisles. It wasn't like a normal grocery store where you can kind of walk wherever you want. Really? Yeah, it was bizarre. Now that I'm older and I'm thinking about it, I'm like, they probably were testing some sort of way to get people to maybe purchase more or whatever. Everything was the worst, the lowest quality you can think of. The steaks were have green spots or white spots in them and stuff like that. And it got me to the point where I said, this is ridiculous, and I don't know why I live in a place like this. Like, I feel like we should have the option, and that's one of the reasons why my aunt got into growing fruits and vegetables. And I looked into trying to partner with my school and get them to get a lot that was abandoned
In the city.
Okay. On right off Emerson Avenue, in between like a corner store and a barbershop. And we got the lot, and if something happened, the city was supposed to come and help us clean or something like that. And it just it didn't fall through, but it didn't go to where I wanted it to go. And then I graduated, went to college, and et cetera. So now I'm back here talking to you, and that memory
that stuck with
it's
you.
still in my mind, and I'm still wanting to do that. So, what are your thoughts on food deserts? What are your thoughts on how to solve the food desert problem, specifically in Baltimore City?
Yeah, right. So I want to back up just a little bit.
Okay.
So we all are very well aware of the power of language, and so there's an elder, Mama, who's an urban farmer and activist in Brooklyn named Karen Brown. And one of the things that she talks about is that we should stop using the term food desert.
Okay.
And that instead we should use the word food apartheid. Because, right? Because
I never heard that.
Oh, word?
Wow.
Yeah. She's dope.
That's real.
Karen Brown.
That's real.
Because she's like her perspective is very simple, right? Is deserts are natural, right? And a desert is dry, right? But it's a natural thing, and it's not devoid of life.
I was about to say, life can live, plants can grow.
Right, life can live, plants can grow. What we are experiencing as poor, working class, black and brown folks in cities like Baltimore is design, a planning design, a development design, a residential design to segregate certain portions of a population in a city, not just a city, but for us, we're talking about Baltimore, in a city from other sections in the city. And because the market is stronger in this city, in this section of the city, as opposed to this section of the city, there are planning practices, development practices, transportation practices, distribution practices that separate these folks from this quality of product, and further separate these folks from these neighborhoods to live or whatever. You can get there to work, right? You can get down. You can easily get down to Harbor East to work. You can easily get to Roland Park to work. That's easy, no problem, no problem. But can you travel in and out of there if you want to go grocery shopping there without a car? No. Mount Washington. If you live in Sandtown, Mount Washington seems like it's in a whole nother state.
My sister went to Mount Washington Middle School.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Up that hill.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous over there.
It's crazy. You get over there and it's like, this is Baltimore? But Whole Foods over there tucked away.
Starbucks over there.
Starbucks. Oh, what? So this is by design. So that's the thing we have to be very, very clear about. And anytime somebody says to you, oh, this is a food desert, it's like, no, it's not a food desert. This is design. This is designed to separate folks from their food system. This is designed to remove sovereignty from the people that live in this neighborhood. So we call it food apartheid. What are the ways that we combat that? Well, number one, there needs to be a different model of development, right? So now, if we put a Whole Foods on Edmondson Avenue, is it gonna pop? Probably not. But if we put a decent grocery store there and we are sourcing mindfully and we're turning the shelves over, just like we would do if the grocery store was in Charles Village, will people use that grocery store? Yeah, absolutely. So it's a different mindset. Now, is it going to be as profitable? Probably not, because we know that the median income of the folks that live in this neighborhood is at a certain level. They're going to spend a certain amount of food.
See, and I will interject.
spend a certain amount of money.
Yeah, so I'm not going to disagree, but what I learned from living in a neighborhood like that in Baltimore, growing up like that, and seeing how much money people spent on takeout.
Right.
On chicken boxes.
I got you, though.
On
I got
chips.
you.
So I'm not going to disagree with you.
No, we're going to keep riding. All right, I got you.
But I'm
though.
just saying within that, I think it's an important piece is which I know you're going to get to, is the education of the real cost.
What I'm about to, and
Because
that's
people think,
cheap food is better.
And you,
right?
and you think of Whole Foods as the standard
yeah.
for when they got in trouble how many years ago, multiple times for upcharging $4 and $5
right.
for food, right?
Whole paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. Straight up. Right. So
yeah.
we already know that
Yeah.
our folks aren't going to be busting the doors down in Whole Foods.
Exactly.
But are you going to bust the doors down in a grocery store that's selling food that we can identify with? That's like, oh, I know this. This is something my people cook. This is something my grandma know how to make. I know how to make this because my mom, my auntie, my daddy been making it. And so I can spend my money here. But I'm spending my money there with dignity, right?
Yep.
Because I feel like I belong here.
Yeah.
This is in my neighborhood. It's kept up. It looks good. The produce looks good. The same practices that they employ at other grocery stores. But what I'll say is you're right. So in general, Americans as a whole have been educated that cheaper is better, right? That's one piece of it. So that has to be addressed because none of us in this country, or very few of us, I should say, very few of us really understand the true cost of an apple, the true cost of an egg. And so yes, a $2, everybody wants to spend $2 on a dozen eggs. Until you understand that the farmer isn't making any money. So then when you understand business, if the farmer knows that they can make more money selling $2 dozens of eggs, and you can cut all the corners and you get the cheapest feed and you can get the wackest chickens and you keep them all huddled up in one place and you increase your yields, it doesn't really matter what the quality of the product is, but the farmer's making money. It's like, okay, I'm not blaming the farmer.
Yeah.
But I'm going to blame the market.
Yeah.
But then the next part of that is I'm not going to be upset with the other farmer who has their chickens out on grass and they're buying non-GMO organic grain and they moving their chickens around and they out there with the shotgun to ward off the foxes and the owls and all that. And then their dozen eggs is $5.
Yeah.
But you look at the 2 eggs and you realize that these are 2 totally different eggs. So I am paying for a lower quality product, but when I understand that this higher quality product does better for my body, it makes sense for me to spend a little bit more money, right? But then you got to take it all the way back and be in the classroom with somebody's child and educating that child on why this is important. And that's really where it is. One of the most powerful times that I had in my professional career of dealing in the food system in Baltimore was being in a public school and getting the opportunity to work with 9 to 12 children between the ages of 7 and 14 using locally grown produce, like locally sourced produce from folks that I could bring in and be like, yo, he grew these tomatoes. This woman here grew these watermelons. We got the chickens from her farm, and then be able to cook with that with the kids and teach them like this is what food looks like. This is what a pumpkin don't come in a can. Really? This is what a pumpkin look like, and this is what it requires in order for you to break it down so you can turn it into a pie or turn it into soup. You know, that was the most powerful time because what happened is then those same children would go home and say to mommy, no, don't buy the 99-cent egg because they no good. We have to buy the $3 eggs. Why we need to buy the $3 eggs? Well, because, and then run down the whole reason why.
That's powerful.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Again, this is all by design.
And to the design is also, and we as in Black impoverished people, brown impoverished people, are in a position of where we are not casualties of war, casualties of
Yeah,
the system.
straight up.
Like,
This is war,
like,
baby.
Like, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
we find ourselves in a position to where we don't, like you're saying, have the education, understand, and then because we getting shot up every day,
Right.
literally and emotionally, socially,
Yeah, absolutely.
economically, or whatever, the last thing we're thinking about is making a long-term investment in our health.
Absolutely.
See, like that was the
Absolutely.
moment for me when I
A long-term investment in our health, that's
Yeah.
revolutionary
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
It's survival for the vast majority of us.
and I remember you was going up to the corner store to get a coffee cake because you was hungry.
Because you're hungry.
You wasn't thinking about, okay, I can get a coffee cake, or I could get an apple, or I could get a banana. And some of the corner stores had the little nasty, rotten,
Little fruit, yeah.
little fruit or whatever.
Right.
The worst. What's that apple? That's like the worst apple. That's like
Red
powdery.
Delicious.
Oh my God, I can't stand that apple. Right, the little powder apples that they used to give you at school. Right, for real, like
Right.
baby powder apple.
Right.
And so we have this negative relationship
Absolutely.
with anything healthy. We think it's expensive. We think it's inaccessible. And then whatever healthy thing that we do see that we have access to is nasty,
It's
rotten.
nasty, yes.
It's nasty, rotten,
Yeah.
old. We get the worst of the worst.
We get the worst of
And
the
it's
worst.
the same thing, our relationship, not to go on a soapbox, but it's a relationship that we have historically with books. You know, we don't want to read, not because we don't want to read, but because we have the worst books. So it's not the thing itself.
Right.
It's the lack of a quality version of that thing.
Or notebooks.
Or
Yeah,
notebooks.
notebooks. You go to school and there's no books. There's no library there. So
Yeah.
what would make you think somebody want to read?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a powerful thing, and it's super complicated. And there's so many pieces that have to be addressed.
Yeah.
And I always say, you know, us as adults, many of us as adults, it's like we gone.
Yeah.
You can give it up.
Yeah.
We out.
Yeah.
And so the people to focus on are the children.
Yeah.
We got to focus on the babies.
Yeah.
And we have to teach better habits.
Yeah.
But and then ultimately, when the family learns better habits, then the community practices better habits. And I get it. I totally get it. It's like it's hard to compete with a $5 cheese fish, right, versus a $9 chicken sandwich that was made from organic chicken. That's hard to compete with.
But nowadays, I stopped by Burger King on my way
Oh,
driving to New York.
that was the example I was going to use.
That stuff like $10.
That was the example I was going to use, right? Because one of my staff members, that was the thing.
Crazy.
That was like, yo, I'm trying to see about this Impossible Burger. Go get some Impossible Burger. So he goes down there, and he's like, he comes back. He brought me a Impossible Burger. He a big brother. He a little overweight. So I'm trying to get him to do better. He grows vegetables, but he don't eat vegetables. I'm like, yo, we got to work on this, homie. So I'm like, yo, go down.
Yeah.
I'm buying.
Boom.
Let's go get a couple Impossible Burgers. I'm trying to see what this is about. He come back with one Impossible Burger and one Whopper, one for real Whopper, and a chicken sandwich. And he was like, yeah, Denzel, I couldn't do it, bro. He was like, so the Impossible Whopper was $5, but he was like, I could get a Whopper and a chicken sandwich for $1. That don't even make sense when you think about it. That makes no sense. But anyway, he was like, so I couldn't do it. He's like, so here's your change, because I got 2 sandwiches at the same price that you got 1.
Yeah, I get it.
And I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm not knocking you. He was like, I ain't knocking your hustle.
Yeah.
He's like, but I can't do it, bro.
Yeah.
I can't do it. He's like, I'm not about to fight. But I'm like, it's $5. It's $5. Here's the kicker though. This is where it gets real crazy. So those vegetarian patties, these vegetarian, spaceship food situations, they are so processed, B. They have so much sugar, so much salt.
Oh my God.
So the only benefit is that it's not made out of meat, but meat isn't the problem.
Exactly.
The problem is the fat, the sugar, the salt. That's the problem for us.
Yes.
As black folks.
Yes.
So I'm not winning by eating an Impossible Burger The only dub, if there's any dub to be had, is I'm not eating a piece of meat.
And that's yeah.
But that doesn't make it healthier.
No. And that's the argument that I would get in with my vegetarian friends.
Yeah.
Who would eat these soybean patties and the Boca burgers and all this different stuff. And I'm looking at the back and I'm seeing 1,500 sodium. I'm like, yo, do you know how much sodium? Or they'll eat a vegetarian thing and they'll dump hot sauce on it. I'm like, you might as well just get a regular burger, bro. Like after you done put
Right, because you're saying it don't taste good.
Yeah, ketchup, hot sauce,
right.
honey mustard, ranch.
Yeah, yo, I've done it, man. I've done the gamut, man.
Yeah,
I've done it. I was a vegetarian. I used to teach cooking classes for vegetarians. I was a live foodist. I've done it. Wow. I mean, you can do it, but it requires a different type of thinking, and it's a thinking that is not innate in this society. This society was not built for people to be healthy, and specifically, has been designed to make sure that folks like us stay sick. Stay sick. Yep. Stay sick, because it's not about medicine, right? A lot of times it's just, you just need water. You need to drink some water, and you need to take a good shit. You constipated.
For real.
Yeah, no, I mean for real. But like we've gotten away from that. Our grandparents and aunties, it was real. We were taking castor oil. Castor oil. We take castor oil on a long weekend.
When I was younger.
And get cleaned out.
My grandmother
with a teeth.
My grandmother used to give me a spoon of cod liver oil. And my father used to give me a clove of garlic and a spoon of honey for my allergies. I was on a regimen.
Right.
Of because my family does not have a good relationship, and for good reasons, with the medical system. Yeah. And this is a conversation that I have with my roommate who's trying to become a doctor and who's trying to figure out. So his specific focus is chronic illness in the Black community and like upstream causes of chronic illness. So I guess looking at education from a young age, what type of stuff that we're talking about.
How it affects obesity,
exactly,
depression.
Meat, he's looking at red meat within the Black community in terms of heart disease and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but we have this conversation, and a lot of times he will kind of just say stuff pretty matter of fact. He'll be like, yeah, of course, man. And I'm like, you don't have to understand, so let me try to explain it to you.
Right.
And he's Black. He grew up in Ohio. But it's a different, the city, and mind you, so I've only lived in Baltimore and then lived in Kentucky. So super rural, middle of nowhere. Right. And then Baltimore City. Right. And so the biggest thing I would say with the city is that there's such a disparity, specifically Baltimore. Yeah. There's there's no middle ground.
There is no.
There's either like a super crazy expensive, fine dining, locally sourced situation, or the super duper vegan places, whatever, with the smoothies and the macaroni, look at that. Right. Or the dirt cheap TGI Fridays 3 for $15 sampler that's gonna kill you, in a couple years.
Or the chicken box.
Or the chicken. Oh my God! Don't talk about that because I have withdrawal syndromes from the chicken box. But so a lot of what happens is people who are healthcare professionals. One of my best friends is doctors. I had a lot of conversations. I try to challenge their idea of what they think information people on the ground understand. Because a lot of times when you go through that schooling or you go through that system, you're I'm not gonna say brainwashed, but you are in a way brainwashed or conditioned to think that this is the normalized way that people believe, and that people should blindly trust whatever you say. Exactly. And Black people in particular have a strained relationship with most systems in America,
to say the least.
And for good reason.
Rightfully so. For good reason.
And I tell all my white friends, it is a miracle that Black people are friends with some of y'all. And I love y'all, but it is a miracle that we don't just look at every white person like, some people do. I don't trust them, because historically we have gotten. I don't have to go into it.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
So I'm talking to him and trying to figure out, okay, how do you bridge the gap between Black people self-medicate a lot, right? And I was blessed enough to have grandparents who knew a lot of home, on both sides of my family, knew a lot of home remedies. Like when I would get asthma attacks, my grandfather would boil like lemon peel, lemon skin, and then I would just stand over the steam, and that would help with my wheezing. It would open up, it would open up my lungs and stuff like that. Or he'd put like ginger or lemon, something he would put in the water.
Man, you need that remedy, bro.
Yeah.
You need that.
Yeah. And that's like a part of, that was just a normal thing, mostly because we couldn't afford the coverage or whatever to get the
You had inhalers and stuff too?
See, so now we get into the next part.
Okay.
So once I start, I got on whatever Cade it was, Medicaid, whatever Medicaid, started getting inhalers. And the inhalers weren't working.
Really?
The low strength, because there's different strengths.
Oh, I didn't know
There's,
that.
there's like the low strength ones, and then I got on Advair, which is like a one a day. They're all steroids. They're all various types of steroids. And I had like the 250 over 50, which is like one of the most powerful versions. And for that one 250 over 50 with insurance, it's $500
Come on, B.
for 1 month.
Come on, son.
For real.
Come on, son.
And you can't make any generic versions because they have that proprietary thing where, you ain't making no generic version of this. So I haven't been on it in years because I literally cannot afford it. So that now forces me, like it forced my grandparents, to look for alternative methods to be okay. And I started with cutting certain stuff. I cut milk out my diet like 2, 3, maybe, no, actually now, probably like 4 years ago. I'll eat cheese very rarely, yogurt super rarely, eggs rarely. Nothing wrong with eggs, but I'm mildly allergic to certain types of eggs and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So I've been consistently cutting stuff out of my diet, and I've noticed a whole lot of differences with me working out or going to the gym or whatever. So you have people who think that their natural state is whatever,
Right.
and don't realize that once they change their diet,
yes,
oh my God, I can do this. I have so much energy.
We become attached to misery. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So so you run strength.
Yeah, right. So now, my current iteration. So I guess we never really finished that story. So we ran Five Seeds Farm as an urban farm, for-profit urban farm, and as far as I know, it was the first for-profit urban farm in Baltimore City.
Wow.
We ran that for 2 years, and because of my experience working in restaurants, that kind of ended up being my market. I started working closely with restaurants and selling produce to restaurants. And I was inspired by another young cat who also was farming at the time, not in the city. And so then in 2011, I went to, I did an internship program with Future Harvest CASA, which is the Chesapeake Alliance of Sustainable Agriculture. Okay. So it was a year-long program of working on a farm and essentially learning the ins and outs of diversified vegetable production, small scale. And so that was a year. So I did a year at Calver's Gift Farm, continued to make connections, continued to network.
Yeah.
And then we moved the farm. We kind of took a leap of faith, entrepreneur, bond, went out there, moved up to Baltimore County to expand Five Seeds at on a 5-acre plot of land up in Baltimore County. So we ran the farm there for about 5 years, and quickly learned that running a business, running a farm business is a supreme challenge, and you need a much stronger network, levels of support. So we did that, and we essentially did it. It was the most beautiful and most stressful time of my adult life. And then we ended up closing the farm, and I went back to the classroom. I went back to teaching for a few years.
Where'd you teach at?
So I taught at Friends Meeting School, and I taught at KIP. KIP Ujima. Yeah. So I was there for a couple of years, and then I was really kind of burned out with teaching. More so burned out with institutions and just and how things are supposed to be. My previous experience teaching at the independent private schools was nice.
Yep.
I had spent years before I started farming.
Okay.
I had spent years as a high school teacher.
Okay. This is back in Oklahoma?
No, this is in D.C.
Okay.
Well, right outside of D.C.
Okay.
So before we moved to Baltimore.
Okay.
So I moved from Oklahoma to D.C.
Got
lived
you.
in D.C.
Got you.
for 5 years, then commuted for 2 years. And so while I was teaching, we would commute back and forth, and I was trying to figure out this whole gardening thing. So anyway, so I laid low.
Yeah.
Just kind of stepped aside. Just needed a minute to take a break. And then one of the community members that was connected to Strength to Love called me and was like, "We need a farm manager. Do you know anybody?" And it was just at a really particular time in my professional career that just like happened to line up. So I went over there and essentially took over the farm. So I've been running that farm now for 2 seasons. So we're finishing up my second season there. So the farm has been there since 2011. 2011, and then the ownership changed hands in 2014, I believe.
Okay.
And then Intersection of Change took it over under their nonprofit in 2014. And they've been carrying it since then. So I'm the farm manager there now. So I do that, and then I work for a small food business called Black Sauce Kitchen.
Oh, that's where I recognized you from. From when y'all used to be down under the at 83.
Oh yeah, we're still there. Still
Okay.
there every Sunday. Every Sunday,
I'll be
back. Right. Yeah. So those are the two things. So I still work in the food system. It's kind of dope. I get to work on the production and the consumption side. So it's been interesting because I left kitchens. Because I grew up in kitchens in the 80s. Well, not the 80s, but grew up in kitchens in the 90s in Oklahoma. It was rough, man. Yeah. And I was like, I don't really want to do this. And I remember a chef who I came to, I wanted to stage. He was like, "You too old." I was like 25, 24, 25. He was like, "Yeah, you're too old." He's like, you're just too old to cook. So, and just kind of sent me on my way. Yeah. Wow. So I just kept grinding. I did a couple of internships. I did some externships. But it's just funny because I didn't think I would end up back cooking. So so I'm growing food and cooking.
So what would a sustainable Baltimore look like? Because what the hope is, even if it's 20 years in the future.
Yeah.
People who, somebody planned the current version of the society that we live in. Somebody said way back when, in 20 years, 30 years, Baltimore's going to look like this. Or Harbor East is going to look like this. Or Drew Hill is going to look like this.
Yeah.
So if you had, infinite amount of funds, what would that Baltimore look like in terms of the food access? What would that be?
Yeah. So it'd be a lot of stuff, but I think wow, that's a powerful question. So I know one of the first things that I would do is address the food systems in schools, hospitals,
Sodexo and all them.
Oh yeah, all these I'd be done with all them cats.
Yeah.
And then colleges. That's a whole nother conversation. But the difference in food service providers between a place like Goucher and a place like Morgan State is criminal. But anyway, what I was going to say is in the jails. So that'd be the first place. And so one of the first things I would do is create some pathways so that, number one, the school cafeterias, hospital cafeterias are actually cooking, because that is something that has gone away. And that was one of my first jobs, was cooking in the hospital. So that would be the first thing. The second thing would be to institute food education programs very similar to the one I ran in all public schools. so that kids have a connection with where their food comes from. We had chickens at the school that I was at. We had bees. We had fruit trees. They're all still there. This was one of the first schools in Baltimore City that had all of these things. We had a garden. They had a play space, trees to climb, rocks and stuff. They had a little garden, and it just changes the mindset. And so that's the first thing I would do, in every school. There was a movement probably 3-4 years ago for every Baltimore City public school to have a salad bar, and even still to this day. And I worked on that project. They got money, federal money, USDA money, to implement this program. So, I did my stint working on this project, and still now, 3-4 years later, there's still not salad bars in every single school. It's like, that's not hard. That's very easy to do. It's like, if you can have a salad bar in every Pizza Hut in the country, or Mazzio's or whatever, then they should have a salad bar. Yeah. So that would be the first thing. The second thing I would do is create some more sustainable and accessible housing situations that were mixed use, right? And so, I think one of the things that's really powerful and popular in other parts of the world is the amount of access of food that you have to where you are, that you can literally walk to the grocery store, get your meat, get your bread, get your produce, get your butter, get your cheese, whatever you need for the day, and then take it back to the house. Obviously, we haven't done that in this country. Like, the idea is that you go and shop for the week, or you go and shop for the month if you shop in bulk. And there's nothing wrong with that if you got to do that. But a lot of it is because the grocery store or the market is not accessible. So that would be the second thing that I would do is kind of create these housing situations. We see all these high-rise apartments and condos going up, and there's this level of separation. Like, the house is over here, the grocery store is over there.
Yep.
Or there might be a liquor store or something underneath. But if, you bring the grocery market into the community, now you create a much more sustainable system. I would also see to it that some of the vacant lot that is not going to be developed gets turned into green space, trees, parks, sitting areas, gardens, farms, because I think that shifts folks' reality about what is possible. How do you use a space? And then, of course, I feel like one of the biggest issues in Baltimore is the kind of inefficiencies in the transportation system. Yeah, it's just that, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, the subway system. I mean, if we talk about infinite amounts of money, but like, I have no issue with using public transportation. We lived in D.C. for years, and I didn't have any issue with it at all. I can't possibly.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
We used to wait 2 hours if you missed, what was it, the 2023 Fox Ridge? They used to go out Essex. If you missed that, you had to wait 2 hours for the next
2
one.
hours.
Like,
and that was the one bus that you.
That was the one bus that you could take to go out. We used to go home from my grandmother's out home. Like, we used to live out Harford Road, so we used to go from West Baltimore out there. That's like the 19 or 20.
2 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
And people just kind of sit there and wait, maybe. And then the thing is, so technically, they probably would argue because a bus would come by, that it would say out of service or whatever. It would say something,
or it might be full,
or it might be full, whatever it was.
No,
it
I've
wasn't.
done that, man.
You knew it wasn't.
It ain't stopping for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't have that kind of time, and a lot of people don't have that kind of time. So those would be some of the levels of sustainability. I mean, I think that some of that stuff is happening now. Some of it is starting to get attractive and popular. Like, there's the pharmacy. Like, I don't know if you heard of this, but there's like, there's been some funding and kind of this movement to have doctors prescribe fruits and vegetables to patients. Yeah. And so then you get these vouchers.
Really?
And you can go to the market and purchase fruits and vegetables because the doctor prescribed it. But it's like, it's kind of backwards. It's a little asinine. Yeah, right.
You still got to go through the system.
Yeah, you got to go through the system, but there's the lack of understanding that, like, fruit and vegetable consumption should be normal. So because all of that is missing from our current systems and our current society, we live in a newly segregated society, right? Yeah. It's nice. I get to see my white friend. We go to school together. All that's fantastic. But then y'all go your separate ways. You go to your house. Yeah. You shop here. They go to their house. They shop here. And what they're buying is different than what you're buying.
And why is that? Other than the systematic things that are in place.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's real simple. I mean, the market, as a business owner, the market share here is much, much stronger. Like, people are going here, they're spending more money. You're going to make more money if these things are available here. And these are things that are familiar with them because of the programming, the radio, TV, social media. All of this is programmed.
Because
right?
That's one of the, not to cut you off, but that's one of the main things I realized, that above and beyond all of the systematic things, right? How I was able to change my own programming was environment and exposure. Yeah, was me seeing like, oh y'all, this is what y'all doing.
This is what y'all doing.
Oh, this is what y'all eating at.
Right.
Okay, got it. So that's I know that is what's lacking generationally from a lot of brown and minority and black communities in Baltimore, because there's little to no awareness or education from your parents to say, hey, this is what we don't eat. Yeah, this is what we do eat.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I would even go further to say, many people say we don't eat that because that's for white people. That's white people's food.
Yeah.
I'm sure you heard that before.
It's my story of my life.
Yeah.
Is me eating at places that are white people food.
Why you eat there? That's white people food.
And I'm like, okay, so you rather me eat a cheesesteak sub?
Yes.
A chicken cheesesteak?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, because that proves that I'm a nigga.
Yeah, no.
Got you.
Yeah, right.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Well, you go ahead and be a nigga, and I'm gonna go over here and eat this salad,
right.
or this sushi, or whatever it is.
Yeah, right. And it's like, yeah, I get it. It's like, yeah, we have a very visceral, very close, very intimate relationship with food.
Yes.
Food is super important, and that's the problem. We have been living in a society that has told us that food is not important. But we all know it is.
Yeah.
We all sit down to the table together and eat, maybe.
Yeah.
But we all sit down and eat at some point, and we all enjoy the experience of eating, the smell, the taste, how you feel, the satisfaction. All of that is very important, and it's very primal. If we know that the food that a certain group of people are eating, we know that it is affecting them, and we know that it's affecting their mood, and we know that it's affecting their health, and they're not really sure about how to address that, and then their health and their mood and their mental well-being and their education is not being addressed by society. What is the result of that? Well, the result of that is agitation, tension, stress, anxiety, mental anxiety, right? Because, for many kids, and I've seen this, many black and brown kids are allergic to milk. But you go to school, and what is it that you have available to drink? Milk.
Breakfast.
Milk
or a little orange juice.
Yeah, for breakfast, little orange
juice. But they got all types of
milk. Which is mostly sugar, right? And then the chocolate milk is sugar. The strawberry milk is sugar. They finally have taken that out. But I was there.
Really?
I think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But this is the only meal this child is eating. Is this little honey bun and this milk.
And I remember that breakfast bun. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I went to, I was like 5th grade, I went to Federal Hill Elementary. And Cross Street Market is right there.
Yeah.
So we used to go there, and the breakfast was so nasty, it was so bad. We used to go to Cross Street Market and get a 2-piece chicken wing from the chicken place and some Western fries.
Right.
And that's what we eat for breakfast, and like a Coke or a ginger ale.
Damn.
Every single day.
How much was that?
$2.50.
$2.50.
Yeah, so that's $5, $10, $12.50.
$12
a week.
Right.
On food.
Right. And so you're having to spend that on food, and then you were probably fortunate enough that you maybe you're eating lunch, but then you're also getting some dinner. But some other cat,
They're not.
they're not getting this is the only meal for the day.
Yeah.
So now we all know as adults, right? We talk about it in different ways. I'm hangry. Or you don't like me when I'm hungry. I don't want to talk. I'm cranky. Whatever. So now, what do you think we're dealing with? People who aren't really able to discern that.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing I've eaten today is a honey bun, a bag of wrap snacks, and a fruit punch. And I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling tense. You know. But then somebody says something to me that sends me over the edge, and now I'm wilding out.
Yeah.
You know, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're unhealthy. You're malnourished, right? And so your brain
And
your body, you're thinking,
eating.
yeah.
That's the most frustrating thing. Is like,
And you're thinking you're eating.
You eating, yo, I just ate a bag of chips. I just ate a fudge
Right.
round. I just ate a whatever.
Right.
And you thinking that because your stomach is full of objects,
Yeah.
it's full of stuff.
Right.
But you're not getting, I remember, and literally what you said, like last week, I had only ate I didn't have anything for breakfast the whole day. And I didn't eat till 3. And then I went to Sweet Green, and that was my second time going there. I'd never been there. It was fire. It was amazing. it was unbelievable. It was experience, for real. Like I wasn't there. I was there by myself. I got a little thing with the sweet potatoes cut up, boom.
Right.
And it was but the experience was I had energy like I never had before in my life.
Word?
I didn't drink no coffee.
Right.
I usually have to go and get another coffee. I lied to you not. I was up. So usually, I remember when I was working at an investment bank, I would get cold brews, work, eat around 1, everybody would do like meatball subs and hamburgers and steak, and I'd be hurting at 5, sleepy. I had that salad. I was up working till 10 o'clock. Fine. It was a moment. I was like,
Yeah.
why am I not seeing it as fuel? Why am I not seeing
Right,
my
because
food
that's
as a
what it
source
is.
of energy?
Yeah, that's
and
what
I
it
had
is.
that moment. I was like, oh my, I feel like I'm driving around kind of happy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then it was that other moment of, I posted it on my Instagram, and one of my friends hit me up, was like, oh yeah, there you go again, eating at all them white people places.
You're right.
And I make it a point to, sometimes I even pay for my friends, to bring them to places like Sweet Green, like whatever. I mean, I remember when I took this guy to Chipotle, guy from New York, and he was like, yo, this is where you eat at? Chipotle, what's that? Obviously on the white people. I'm like, bro, in my mind, I'm like, Chipotle is like
Yeah, that's like
regular.
Yeah,
like
regular,
it's like
right.
nothing. But he was so programmed to, and I know New York is different because they got, bodegas and stuff like that.
yeah.
So he programmed the chopped cheese and this,
Yeah,
that, and the
yeah,
third, or whatever. But the idea of even going to a place that had available lettuce and, you be able to eat a vegetarian meal, or eat, I know they used to be free range and a lot of that stuff. I don't know how good it is now. But that idea was so, it was almost like an attack on his blackness.
Right.
Like, yo, for real. Like, I brought him in here and he's like, yo, E, this is what you eat. Oh, you got to order for me. So I had to order for him because he was so mad he didn't want to order. And now he's addicted to it. That's all he eats is Chipotle. So it's like having that access point.
Yeah, access. Yeah.
For, the people in our community to go, okay, boom, this is not, and now we support a Sweet Green. How do we do our own thing?
Yeah, and we can do our own
course.
thing, but we got to support our own thing. And it's tough because it's a lot of it is about culture, because our culture says that this is not good. This does not taste, it's a very, very
And Thanksgiving coming
difficult.
up.
Oh man, I don't really want to talk about Thanksgiving, man. Thanksgiving is such a problem. It's such a problem.
Hey, look, I'm having this beautiful, healthy conversation.
Yeah.
But on Thanksgiving,
Right.
you might see
You had to
me.
go a little. Right. You got a bad
might
case
see
of the
me
itis,
slump.
dog. The game? Woo. Yeah, this mac and cheese laying heavy on me. But to wrap it around though, it's like that's. But the access is the thing is like none of this is lost on us, right? We're angry.
Yep.
We've been angry.
Yep.
We know we're angry.
Yep.
We're not always able to articulate why, but we know that we're not getting what we as black folks deserve. We know that we're not getting what we as Americans deserve. We know that we as as working class folks who are just trying to work and make a living, aren't getting what we deserve. We know that it's all the way fucked up that marijuana is a billion-dollar industry, and I got homeboys. I know you got homeboys.
I get mad every time I
who are locked up, who have time on their records now, off some weed charges.
Yeah.
So we're angry. Yeah. We're angry, and then we're eating whack. It's a recipe for disaster. Yeah. And so then who do we take our anger out on?
Each other.
We take it out on each other. Because we can't. Yeah, but exactly, by proximity. Yeah. Absolutely, crime by proximity. Because we can't really attack the system. How do you attack the system? How do you attack the ghost in the shell? How do you attack the phantom? It's everywhere. But I'm angry. I'm tense. I'm mad. I'm pissed off. Yeah. I'm mad because my electricity bill is too damn high. Yeah. And my job don't pay enough. Yep. I'm mad because cats keep dumping over here in the backyard. So the next nigga I see over here, he about to get this work.
Yeah, seriously.
He about to get this work.
Because my mother people used to steal my mother flowers.
Right, yeah.
Like my mother, I'm like, yo, come on, y'all, what y'all doing? Like, the flowers out the pot.
Straight up.
Because the pot was too heavy. Big, nice pots.
Yo.
And they just take, what are y'all doing with those flowers?
Yo, somebody tried to steal the pot of our front yard, man. Dropped it. Got it about 10 feet from the stoop, dropped the joint, broke.
Yeah.
Man, I had that pot 30 years, man.
And
it was my mama's pot. Ceramic, like real ceramic. You can't even buy them joints no more. Man, I'm hot.
So my last question. That's crazy.
If I seen dude today, he getting that work.
But that's crazy. That's a normal thing. Like, you talk to people like, somebody stole our trash can. Yeah. Like, that's real. You used to change your trash can to your gate because people were stealing it.
Yeah, man, we're hurt people, man.
And so my last thing is, while you were talking, I always think about, what's possible. And you're in it. You're in the grind every single day. You out here hustling these vegetables to these different people.
Right.
So how much time, and we just stick with time. Okay. And maybe a general amount of money. Okay. How much time or general amount of money, or whatever it is you think would be needed, would it take in order to build a website, app, phone system, some sort of communication relay system that allow people to order food, order produce, and get it dropped off to the house in the city? Because I know that they got these ugly food delivered. What I've noticed is that we do fly stuff like Hack and whatever, and somebody just says, "Yo, I'm gonna make it Uber. I'm gonna make it Lyft."
Oh man!
So I'm like, at this point, how just with Baltimore City, with using the people that we have in the city and saying, okay, here's a list of just starting off with maybe, I don't know how any of it works, but start off with 5 vegetables, with the basic vegetables that people use all the time. Maybe it's onions, peppers, garlic. I don't know about any of it, if it's realistic or not. But I'm just saying something that people can use a lot for cooking. Yeah. And maybe something that has a longer shelf life. I don't know. And saying, okay, this is phase 1 of the program. All right. It is completely free to be in the program. Right. All you have
free to get the
free to get it delivered. Free delivery. Okay. The only cost is you buying the vegetable or what have you. Right. And let's say you got people in these different communities, and you might even have hotspots in these different communities to where you already know that every week you might be delivering to that hotspot, and that person or those group of people dispersing it to the community. Can distribute it out. Or people in the community come to that spot.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I've never thought about anything like that. I mean, there's tons of programs like that, like Blue Apron, which come attached with the recipe. It's not really for us. So I think you could do something like that. It's a scale question, right? So generally speaking, urban farmers are not able to compete at that price point because the farms that are producing onions, for example, are hundreds of acres. They're producing hundreds of tons of onions, and they sell them in large quantities for a little bit of money, which is a semi-profitable system for them. But for me to grow onions in Baltimore, like storage onions, requires way more work, way more time, and I can still only grow a finite amount. Okay. So if we could figure out some kind of way to continuously invest and essentially subsidize these small farms the same way big ag is subsidized, then yeah, we could do something like that. I mean, I think it would be a great idea, and the dignity that's attached to that, because there's fruit and vegetable giveaways all over the place, but it's just like it has this whole stigma. It's like the lines that you see. I've never even been in these. I don't know what they're doing, but the free cell phone.
The government.
I don't know what that
lines.
is. What is that?
I know people who get it, and the government gives you a phone. Some people, it's like a month. You get a phone that works for a month. It's a free phone. It's a free phone that you get, and you can go every month because some people can't afford to get a phone. So you get a free phone and free service.
Lines, you get free phone,
free service.
I didn't know that.
Sometimes it's for a month. That's the one I heard of.
So that's what it is. So it's free. So it's literally free cell phone.
You get a free
boom with a phone.
Here's it. Usually a flip phone or the old Nokia phone. You get it for a month. It works. You can make maybe 500 minutes. I don't know, and then you go back the next month and get another phone, another number.
Wow, that just blew my mind. So anyway, but I feel like systems like that lack. It's tough. It lacks dignity.
Yeah, it takes away.
So I would want. So using a phone app to distribute vegetables would be very, very interesting. I mean, we would need a central location, and I think that the thing that will really send it home is if there was a kitchen that was attached that showed processing, or was it even able to show recipes? Because
these restaurants exist, right? But I'm sure they have a lot of investment money. Usually, from what I've seen on the outside looking in, I've been to some of these farm to table places that you can sit at the kitchen counter and you see them chopping up the thing and getting out the thing, whatever. Right. So in my ignorance, I'm looking at this and I'm just like, man, this ain't that hard. Of course I know it is, but I'm saying somebody's doing it.
Yeah, somebody's doing it. So, and somebody needs to do it that makes it accessible to us.
Exactly.
Is that possible? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. But it just requires a different type of thinking. Yeah. I mean, I think that a place like Sweet Greens, in that sense, is really, it's just like a really revolutionary situation. But it's like, can we do a black version of that? Yeah, we most certainly can. And then can we send somebody with a bag of produce at the end of the day? Yeah, we can. Yeah. Now, for us, for our folks, you got to make the price point. And restaurants are hard. Restaurants are super. The profit margin, right? They fail all the time. The profit margins are super slim. Yeah. But I think it's possible. Yeah. I think it's possible. So I don't know how much time, and definitely don't know how much money. I thought you were going to ask me how much time and money it would cost you to start your own garden.
Do that.
That would be easy.
Boom. Tell me that.
I mean, you could start a garden 10 hours. You could easily spend 10 hours a week, and depending on your situation, you could do an investment of $100 or less and grow produce.
Okay.
Grow your own produce.
So if I want to start my garden, right? All I need is 10 hours, $100, and those books.
Not those books. There are other. Okay. See, these books are about farming. Like, how do you create a business? Okay. There are tons of gardening books, though. I mean, because you can grow herbs in a pot in your windowsill inside your crib. See, but that's how I started. I mean, I was 16, 17 years old. I mean, it takes practice.
Okay, see.
It takes some practice. But I was 16, 17 years old. I was growing cilantro and basil at home and then cooking with it. But I just had the mindset. That's what I wanted to do. But I tried to grow carrots in a pot. It didn't work.
So there should be the expectation that it's not gonna. Because I know for me,
you gotta learn.
A lot of people approach it like, yo, you got sunlight. You learn in science class.
Yeah.
Sunlight.
No, it's a little more
water,
complicated than that.
Why you not growing?
Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that. You need sunlight. You need water, but you also You need the right soil conditions. You got, the pot has to be big enough. If it's outside, it's not enough that it's just outside. It needs to be in an area that is sunny. If you're trying to grow vegetables that love the sun, or if you're trying to grow lettuce, like you'll learn that you can't grow lettuce in the summer. It's too hot in Maryland to grow lettuce in the summer. So there's a lot to learn, but that's a part of the journey. But to get started, if you got $100 to spend, and you can do that now, because even on assistance, even with SNAP benefits and EBT, you can purchase seedlings now. Yeah. You do, which you didn't used to be able to do that, but you can now. So
there's no excuse.
No, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. I mean, I did it, and there's tons of people that came behind me that did it. There were tons of people, tons of young people, young black folks who came up to 5 Seas Farm and volunteered and learned, and then went off to do their own thing.
When can people, if people want to volunteer, how does that work?
So to volunteer at Strength to Love, we are essentially open Monday through Saturday. Okay. And so they can just go to the website, strengthtolove.org.
The like TO or the number 2?
The number 2. Number 2. I think Strength to Love. Yeah, strenghthtolove.org. It's also, I think, also the S2L2.com.
Got you.
S2L2.com.
Got you.
And then you can sign up and to send me an email and say you want to come out to volunteer. And people come out and volunteer all the time. And that's a great way to learn too. And just to commune with the earth and be on the land and see, that it's possible. Because we're right in Sandtown. We're literally a stone's throw from Gilmore Homes. Yeah, we right
I know
there.
y'all at.
Yeah. So
right near where that was. Are you near that Habitat for Humanity?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, just on the other side of
That's
Habitat
what I
for Humanity building.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Well, it was great talking to you.
Yo, bro.
We got to talk more for real.
Yeah, man.
And I definitely want to volunteer.
Okay.
So I will be up there because I'm serious about growing my own.
I'll put you to work, dog.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I appreciate it.